Peralta, and I will be facilitating our meeting today. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Closed captions are available in English and Spanish. English closed captions are available within Zoom and YouTube. Users can follow the screen to view both English and Spanish captions in a separate browser window. To access closed captions virtually, at the bottom middle of your screen, you should see a menu of options. If you can't see the menu, hover your mouse over the bottom middle of the screen. Then click on the CC icon and a separate window with captions will appear. We have ASL interpretation. In an effort to continue to center equity, there is an ASL interpreter in addition to closed captioning. To make sure the interpreter is always visible, please right-click their video and select Spotlight Video. For those watching on YouTube, when we screen share, you will be able to see the slideshow, closed captioning, and the ASL interpreter. You will still be able to hear different people speaking, but you may not see them. Public input instructions. There will be an opportunity to provide brief public input later in the meeting today around 9:50 this morning. Verbal public comment will be welcome in the Zoom webinar during the designated time with the option to turn on your camera. Please use the link located in the meeting description on the YouTube meeting page or on the IBR CBAG meeting webpage. Commenters will not be allowed to share their screens and will be removed from the room once the public comment period concludes. To comment by phone, dial 1-646-931-3860 or 408-638-0968. Enter meeting ID 823-5803-3783, passcode 385815. Dial *9 to raise your hand. After you're invited to speak, dial *6 to unmute yourself. We will run through our group agreements that we have for our meetings every month. So we encourage folks to put relationships first, keep focus on our common goal for the community, notice power dynamics in the room, create space for multiple truths and norms, be kind and brave, practice examining racially biased systems and processes. This is a learning space for everyone. Look for opportunities to learn. Advisory group members will turn on cameras as you share this space together. Take care of your personal needs as they come up. Let me know if you need to step away. Virtual participants can participate by taking written notes and using the raise hand and speak features for active engagement. We welcome diverse perspectives. It's okay to disagree. We ask that if you tend to talk a bit more, that you move up your listening. And if you tend to kind of hang back and listen, we encourage you to move up your talking. And finally, assume and have good intentions. And now I will turn it over to Ray Mabey, our Assistant Program Administrator, to give us some welcoming remarks.
Yeah, good morning. As Emily said, Ray Mabey, Assistant Administrator, taking the place of Greg today, who couldn't be with us, but he and I both share our understanding of the importance of the work of this group and support and thank everybody who's participating and engaging in this important effort. Let's see. I think I don't think I've got. I think I do have some slides.
That'll be at a later part. We have those.
Okay, great. Thanks. Sorry about that. So yeah, so definitely welcome everybody. Sorry I couldn't be with you in person today. Had some back-to-back meetings, so as I stood in for Greg, wasn't able to reschedule things to handle the travel. But again, thanks for being here today, and I'll turn over to Mayor Ann to welcome the group too.
That's you, Eric. That's I'm a pale replacement for Mayor Ann, but who sends her regrets. She's down in a conference, but glad to be here to serve in her stead and continue to advance this important work.
Thank you. Emily, so let's move to introductions. Unfortunately, Commissioner Maps was not able to join us today.
Sounds great. Thank you. Yes, so we'll go ahead and start with introductions in the virtual space. So I'll ask CBAG members to please raise your hands to identify yourselves in members so we can go through. We will have everybody introduce your name, your organizational affiliation or at-large status, your pronouns if you'd like. And then our check-in question for today is share a favorite family tradition. So I'll kick us off to get the thoughts ruminating here. I'm Emily Thomas Peralta. I am with the IBR Equity and Community Benefits team. My pronouns are she, her, Aya. And favorite family tradition, I think it was kind of indoctrinated in me. My dad's family is from Nebraska. And if you know anything about Nebraska, it's like Husker football is the religion. My kindergarten picture was literally me in a Husker outfit, and I went there for undergrad. So that's my favorite family tradition is my hardcore Nebraska football fandom. So I will go ahead and pass it to Tom.
Good morning, Tom Hickey with the North Portland neighborhoods. My favorite family tradition is New Year's Eve picnic around the coffee table with fancy canned sardines and oysters and fancy crackers, and that's fancy cheese that comes in a squirt can. We've been doing this since I was a kid, and to this day, I once a year have to have my box of chicken and a biscuit. So
Thanks,
Jane,
Tom. Yeah, we'll go to Janie and then we'll go to Farley. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janie Haygood. I'm the chair of the Vancouver Parks and Rec Advisory Commission, she, her pronouns. My favorite family tradition was every day or every Sunday after church, Mom would make a big lunch. She wouldn't make a dinner on Sunday, but she'd make a big lunch. But before we could eat, we all had to hand around a kitty bank, and we called it the Grateful Kitty. And each one of us put money into the Grateful Kitty and said what we were grateful for. And then usually about twice a year, we had enough money to go on some kind of a family trip. Winter, I know, was usually skiing. I don't remember what the other ones were, but just a wonderful way to kind of remind us what we were all grateful for. Do you want me to pick someone next or?
Oh, no, thank you. We'll go to Farley and then we'll go to Nate.
Morning, everybody. My name is Farley Winters, and I'm an architect at LSW Architects in downtown Vancouver. My pronouns are she, her, and one of my favorite family traditions is getting out in nature. We just put my grandpa in the ground this weekend. He passed away a few years ago, and we were up in the San Juan Islands, and we're reminiscing about all the great adventures that he led the family on and kind of the visioning and chaos that ensues from great intentions and poor planning that usually happens out in the wilderness. So that's front of mind for me this week. And yeah, we've been in some really beautiful places, been miserable and wet, and still had a good time.
Thank you. Let's go to Nate and then Peter.
Good morning, everybody. Nate McCoy, President and CEO of NAMAC Oregon. I use he, him pronouns. I would say I'm a lot like Miss Haygood. My grandmother started Sunday dinners together with our family that brought not just the immediate family together, but a lot of cousins and uncles and aunts. So now that my grandparents all are no longer with us, I've carried on that tradition in my house this year. I do not know how to cook very well, so my wife is holding it down, but I enjoy bringing our family together much like our grandparents did.
Thank you. Peter and then Darcy.
Good morning, everybody. Peter Fells, pronouns are he, him. I think I'm representing Alliance for Community Engagement, which is a coalition of 12 environmental groups in Southwest Washington, sometimes known as ACE. I'm having a hard time thinking of any family traditions. I think probably our family tradition is no traditions. The only one I can think of is there's a coffee cake that I have baked for years on Christmas morning that comes from Joy of Cooking with my modifications. And my daughters have started taking on baking that. So that's the closest I can come.
Great, thanks, Peter. Let's go to Darcy and then we'll go to Vicky.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Darcy Hoffman, she, her pronouns. I'm with Workforce Southwest Washington and the Columbia-Willamette Workforce Collaborative. And I think I'm kind of with you, Peter. I gotta take a pass on this one. We don't really have any family traditions, so nothing really to report here.
Good morning. I'm Vicki Nakashima, and I also serve on the IBR Equity Advisory Committee. I'm a resident of Southwest Washington. I kind of created a tradition many years ago to save a turkey on Thanksgiving and eat dim sum. And so a group of us go for brunch at a dim sum restaurant, and my family, small family, invites people who don't have family here to go with us. Thanks.
Thank you, Vicki. Let's go to Scott and then Michael.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott McCullum. I'm the superintendent at the Washington State School for the Blind. I use he, him pronouns. My family's all far away, but my wife's family is much closer, and they tend to celebrate birthdays as a unit. And so that's really wonderful. We all get together, and this weekend we will be celebrating my mother-in-law's 80th birthday.
Great. Michael?
Great. Hello, everyone. Michael Strauss. I'm with Kimco Realty. We're the owners of the Jansen Beach Center. I am broadly representing our interests, but also all of the small businesses and property owners on Hayden Island and beyond. And then he, him pronouns. And I'm pretty much with Darcy and Peter, not a lot of family traditions, although I love Vicki's tradition, and I think I want to join Vicki's family and start going to dim sum on Thanksgiving. So sounds great. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Anyone else in the virtual space that we missed? Oh, I think Scott McCown.
I already went.
Oh, okay. Apologies. So let's go over to our in-person folks, and Bree, I will ask you to help take us through those folks.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily. Hello, everybody. My name is Bree Nicolello. My pronouns are she, hers. And favorite tradition, I would say I come from a really big family. My dad's from a family of 9. And so we would do these big summer barbecues once a year called Clara Day, named after my great grandma, and get together and barbecue and hang out and party. And it was a very, very fun time. Let's start with Carly.
Carly Francis, Washington State DOT, she, her pronouns. The things that are coming up for me are food related. So mostly, not necessarily family tradition, but every time I was visiting my grandmother, she lived in true Northern California in Eureka. But every morning.
Everyone
talks about San Francisco like it's Northern California, and I'm like, baloney. You don't know what she knows. Like, anyway, sorry, that's a side note. And I remember every time I was at her house for breakfast, she would make fresh squeezed orange juice. I can hear the squeezer, she had it on like a mixer. And one piece of toast that had raspberry jam that she made, and one piece of toast that had orange marmalade that she made. And then I would sit at the weird little TV tray that she had in front of the super dated television. Like, I don't think it was in color. It definitely had the knobs. It was tiny. It was like in this little pass space right next to her bedroom. And like, that's my, that and some heated floor that she had that would happen at Christmas. And I would get to lay on the heated floor as I was opening a stocking, cork floor in the back, and like those things are memories. What a dichotomy of technology.
Yeah.
It was super. It was a good long time. The heated floor had been there for like, I don't even know how long. It was an addition they put in, but somehow this back room with heated floor. It was great.
A reminder that all our new ideas are not necessarily good. Courtney Collier with Columbia Corridor Association, and I'll go with the food also. Christmas morning, we always have this chocolate whipped cream that you pour hot milk into to make hot chocolate. And my mom's always trying to get out of making it because it's a lousy time to be making something like that, and the milk always gets cold, but it's chocolate whipped cream in a cup. I mean, come on, so that's our tradition.
Good morning, everyone. Aiden Brunauer, they, them, or he, him pronouns, Assistant Director of Civil Rights and Equity for the Interstate Bridge Program. And my family also does not have a lot of traditions, but one thing we love is barbecuing and grilling and traditional cookouts. So this time of the year is kind of when it kicks off, and the more creative thing you can find to throw on the grill, the better. So that's our tradition.
Eric Holmes, City of Vancouver, and I grew up on the Lower Columbia River, and every summer we would have crawfish feeds that were crawfish that we literally made the traps and went out and caught. And so the image of this big long outdoor table with just mounds and mounds of crawfish.
Hi, everyone. Lori Severino with the City of Vancouver, she, her pronouns. Two quick traditions, one food related, is every Sunday we make pancakes at the house, and my two little kids love to help out, and we've really perfected the banana chocolate chip combo. Holiday one though, we've just the last few years have been going bowling on Christmas Eve. And that's just kind of a fun way to get out of the cold weather and be festive.
Shannon Singleton, my pronouns are she and her, and I'm the community benefits lead on the IBR program. I think mine would probably be New Year's Day. When I was home, it was Mummers Parade, whether we were watching or going. But out here, I do an open house where I make fried chicken and Hoppin' John. That is just an absolutely beautiful recipe. Not mine. No, I didn't make it up, of course.
Hi, Walter Valenta, Bridgeton neighborhood. My families have actually long traditions, and so it's really cool because the older generation set these up and we still do them, and I really appreciate them. So they're just family reunions. The Oregon side does Sun River in a house every year. That's coming up in August. Everybody comes. It's really relaxing because when you just go to the same place every time, and just you instantly relax, and there's no shift that has to happen. And the other side of my family, because they're all over the nation, picks a new place every year to have a family reunion at. So this year is at the Teddy Roosevelt State Park in North Dakota, because one of the family members lives somehow in North Dakota. But it's summer, so it's really a good time to go there if you're going to go there at all. And we do it every year, and it really is interesting when you have 20, 30 years of doing the same thing, and then it trains the next generation, and how I'm so glad that the older generation trained us to keep those things alive.
Right. Ryan Winsheimer with ODOT Region 1. I also have two quick ones, one food related. So my food related one started when my wife and I went out for Valentine's Day and just had really poor service at a restaurant. Just because they were overwhelmed, right? They're just so busy on those days. And so we decided just to go get a pizza and have some champagne, and it worked out great. So now every year we do the heart-shaped pizza from Papa Murphy's with a bottle of champagne, and the kids would love it because we get to do more of a family thing than just then we go out later. But it's just an inexpensive way to enjoy the day and make it more about us, which is fun. The second thing is my wife's family's from Pendleton. We go to the Pendleton Roundup every year, and it's just it's more of a family reunion on her side. And so it's just a great opportunity to get outdoors, be in the sun, enjoy the Western themed environment. So it's fun.
Great. Thank you so much, folks. It looks like we just had Scott join, so I'll pass it over to Emily to lead that introduction and then transition us into the next part of our agenda.
Thank you, Scott. So our check-in is name, affiliation, or org you represent, and then our check-in question is, what is a favorite family tradition that you'd like to share?
Yeah, sorry I'm late, everyone. Scott Sharba, Development Project Manager at the Vancouver Housing Authority. Favorite family tradition, it's kind of fallen off in years past, unfortunately, but I grew up also doing a family reunion. I'm from Michigan, so my grandparents lived up in Traverse City area. Here's my handy dandy Michigan map. So we would get the whole gang together, all the aunts, uncles, cousins, and my grandmother, who sadly passed about 5 years ago. Was quite the entertainer. She would always have different activities and events and scavenger hunts and things like that planned for the reunion. So that was always something special to me that I'm very happy I grew up with. So good question. I like that one.
Thanks, Scott, and thanks everyone for sharing. We'll go ahead and go back to our slide deck here. All right, so a quick overview of our agenda. We did our introductions. We're going to move to our public comment next. Then we will have our program update, a presentation on the potential community benefits in the category for this month. Then we'll have our small group discussion where we will brainstorm our ideas around this category, and then we'll come back for our large group report out before closing and next steps. So for public comment, to make a verbal comment, to make a live comment via phone, dial 1-646-931-3860 or 1-408-638-0968. Meeting ID 823-5803-3783. Passcode 385815. Dial *9 to raise your hand. I will call on participants to provide comment. Dial *6 to unmute yourself. Please provide your name and affiliation. There'll be a 10-minute time frame that will be divided amongst the number of requested speakers. If we run out of time and you have not had a chance to speak, you can still provide comments after the meeting. And for the instructions for after the meeting, fill out the comment form on the program website or email your comments to info@interstatebridge.org with CBAG Public Comment in the subject line. Call 360-859-0494 for Washington, 503-897-9218 for Oregon, or 888-503-6735 for toll free, and state CBAG Public Comment in your message. Written comments must explicitly say CBAG Public Comment in the subject line or in the body of the message for them to be identified and distributed to CBAG members. All written comments must be received at least 48 hours in advance of each upcoming meeting in order to be distributed to advisory group members. Comments received after that point will be distributed to members in advance of their next meeting. And so now I will ask if we have anybody on deck, Robert, for our public comment.
Hi, good morning. Yes, we have one commenter, Bob Ortsblad, and I will share my screen for a timer of 2 minutes.
Okay. All right. Welcome, Bob, our public commenter. We will now turn it over to you to provide your public comment.
Share my screen for a timer of 2 minutes.
Okay.
Just a second, I have to mute you on the other. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, very good.
Welcome, our public commenter. We will now turn it over to you to provide your public comment.
Okay, very good. I'm Bob Ortblad. Just a second, I have to mute you on the other. Yeah, hang on a second. I got to get you off Zoom. Can you hear me? No, let me get you off Zoom.
We can hear you.
Okay, very good.
Public commenter. We will.
Okay, now I'm good now. You hear me now?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to get you off Zoom. I get that feedback. I'm again Bob Ortblad, a Washington resident and 40 years as a professional engineer. Last month, I accused the IBR and its consultants of issuing a fraudulent and illegal tunnel evaluation report, and that the IBR claimed stupidity in its defense. I hope this committee has had time to check my facts. The IBR used this report to disqualify a tunnel alternative and gain approval for its LPA from 8 cities and agencies. After these approvals, public disclosure requests forced the IBR to issue 2 correcting revisions. I doubt the IBR has ever notified the 8 agencies, 8 cities and agencies of these correcting revisions. They never notified me, and I made the requests. The IBR has not only defrauded local agencies, it has defrauded the Federal Department of Transportation of $600 million and is asking for $1 billion more. An honest tunnel evaluation by an independent engineering consultant must be done and included in the supplemental EIS. Thank you very much.
All right. And Robert, if we could have the public commenter from the meeting.
All good. Back to you.
Great, thank you very much. Turn it back to our presentation here. All right, now I will turn it over to Ray Maybe to give our program update.
Okay, thank you. Can I have the next slide, please? There we go. Thank you. So yeah, we recently had a visit from the Acting Undersecretary of Transportation for Policy, Christopher Coase. He was in town to attend an APTA, American Public Transportation Association conference that was happening in Portland. But really, while he was here, wanted to come and take a tour of the bridge. So great opportunity to meet him and share what the program is doing. His visit really highlights the importance of the program's emphasis on equity and multimodal transportation. He highlighted that, excuse me, and saw value in that, was impressed by our community engagement and our work by this group on community benefits. Now, the recent visit from the US DOT Secretary and this now visit from the Acting Undersecretary really demonstrate that federal commitment to this project and attention, because we are looking for continued grant opportunities to come in. We recently were awarded the MEGA grant from US DOT, and we're awaiting news on the Bridge Investment Program grant from Federal Highway Administration this coming July, so just a couple of months away. So we're really looking forward to that opportunity. We had a recent event on May 6th at the Portland Expo Center, where we had what we call an industry day. And we invited contractors, consultants, DBEs, small businesses, labor, to really come and hear a very brief program update, but really dig into our latest thinking on packaging and sequencing of how we might be able to deliver this program. The packaging and sequencing, talked about the size of contract, the type of work, maybe the duration of the work, the potential delivery method or methods, and the agency who would likely hold the contract, whether it's ODOT, WashDOT, TriMet, or CTRAN. And this really was provided in a way to help people understand the potential ways we could deliver the program, how they see themselves in those contracts, and begin partnering with different firms, DBEs, small businesses, contractors, designers, to find out how they want to engage and help us deliver this program. We've received really positive feedback and heard that people are already starting those conversations. Now, like I said, we had over 340 people there. Nearly 100 DBEs were at that event. So that connection between DBEs, consultants, and contractors is really important. And we're going to continue to follow up with those attendees. We've opened opened up office hours to receive additional questions and feedback on what we presented on how we can make this better and a more accessible program. That delivery plan that I talked about is still under development, and actually welcome thoughts on that, and is likely to change as we continue to progress the work. But it's a starting point to really help those firms and individuals find out how they can engage and deliver the program. Next slide, please. So beyond that, we haven't been sitting around. We've been very busy. Connections with the DBs remain a priority for our program. And earlier this month, we had a chance to attend Awami's trade show. That was on May 2nd. We've also been engaged with our transportation commissions. We provided an update last week to the Washington State Transportation Commission. And as we speak, I'm in the program office in Vancouver. We've got the subcommittee on tolling from the Oregon Transportation Commission and the Washington State Transportation Commission in the office meeting to talk about toll rates and policies for IBR. I think we've talked about the toll administrator shifted from Oregon to Washington. And so we have the Washington toll administrators present and parts of our team to help work with that subcommittee as they bring those toll rate policies and rate suggestions to the full commissions for further consideration. We expect that to happen over the next 6 to 8 months, but meanwhile, they're meeting regularly in open meetings, public meetings. So I encourage people to attend those when you're available. Obviously, we can't at this moment, but exciting work for those commission members to do. We've continued our community outreach as well by visiting multiple neighborhood associations in the last months, including Rose Village, High Noon, Bridgeton, Vancouver Heights, and Arbor Lodge. We've also presented to students at the Vancouver iTech Prep Academy. Great to make that connection with the younger part of our community as they grow into and provide the workforce we need to deliver this program. And then yesterday we hosted an equity roundtable, Pathways to Active Transportation Strategies and Solutions. And I think this was maybe the day before yesterday. This is that was AGC, too many meetings. This is the 8th installment of our series, which was really created as a forum for important discussions around how our bi-state infrastructure program can benefit all members of our diverse community. And this roundtable is available on the program's YouTube channel. It's a great series. I encourage people to either tune in live or watch them when you're available. Next slide. I think that wraps up my comments. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, well, not seeing any. Thank you very much, Ray.
Excuse me, Emily?
Yes.
I apologize. We have one comment in the room here.
Thanks. Thanks. So not really a question or comment for you, Ray, but just a note that a number of the Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation folks from the Oregon side were back in Washington, D.C. last week. Greg got to join us. And we had the opportunity to speak to a number of members of Congress, really let them know what we're doing here, inform them about the match that we're providing and the grants that we're working on for a number of the things. And the mayor did an excellent job of helping advocate for that project from the Washington side. So thank you to her for her participation and encouragement in that. Again, continuing to get really good feedback from both the administration itself and our congressional delegation on just continued support for the project and the collaboration that we're having with the community on moving this project forward. So all good feedback, nothing negative to report, but I just wanted to let people know that there was this effort, that that conversation is continuing, and that the Oregon side, in particular the JPAC group, did a great job of advocating for the project and then continuing to push for it with our federal delegation. So that's it.
Any other comments?
I actually have one for Ray, if I could. Ray, I agree with you. I thought the IBR meeting was great, and I have a little bit of post-trauma on the picture that I saw that I was in when I asked my question. I had about 10 contractors call me after, and you probably know where I'm going, around workforce agreements, union and non-union. I'm honestly hoping that you and Greg can take me up on my offer to maybe identify the trade associations that could meet solely with the IBR team to talk about some of the things that nobody but me wants to speak about in these meetings around the devil in the details. And I would love for us to have a segment with like the trade associations separate from everybody, and one that includes just the prime contractors and maybe the trade associations with the IBR team. And the reason why I say that is that there's union contractors and non-union contractors at the prime level that want to bid on this project. And I think there's some scarcity mindset that if they speak too much, it could lead them to not win this project on the back end. And I don't want that to be the case, because I think people have a lot to say, but they're not being vocal. So I just want to, because sometimes you bring too many people like we had in that event, people don't speak up the right ways. So I think if we could have some more intimate sessions, I think we can gain a lot more on just what some of the challenges are with an eye towards really standing up community benefits. So I say that to Shannon too, because I know she's leading the processes, but I would love to talk more about that, Ray, in a safe space.
Yeah, no, thanks, Nate. And thanks for sharing what you did. I know we knew and anticipated that it was a big group and that we really wouldn't get some of those crucial points and conversations to come out there. That's why we want to make sure we provide those opportunities, like you just mentioned, to catch up and meet us in the office. So definitely open to that. I'm open to it. I'm sure Greg is. We will reach out to you and set up some time, and then figure out who to meet with in a continual way. So
okay, thanks, Ray.
Definitely interested in hearing more concerns, ideas, but that is exactly what we're looking for. So we'll look forward to it. Thank you.
We have one more comment from the in-person room, and then we'll transition to Emily to get us to the next part of our presentation. Eric?
Just want to lend my voice to Nate's as well in support of that. So you're not all alone, man. Be great to see those follow-up conversations.
Emily, transitioning back to you.
Sorry, I was struggling to get my unmute button to like come down at the top of my screen. All right, so for this month, our category is community benefits. And I know that can sound a little confusing since all of this is community benefits. So we have a little reminder here for the framing. So as you might recall, our community benefits are categorized and correlated with the equity objectives that are in the IBR equity framework. And one of those objectives is community benefits. And so that objective is to find opportunities for and implement local community improvements in addition to required mitigations. And so the way we're thinking about this category for these conversations is really those benefits that maybe don't fit super well in some of our other categories, like mobility and accessibility or physical design, as well as those that maybe go beyond what we've identified as mitigations and they avoid further harm. And so when we did our first conversations and all of you shared some great ideas across all categories, you gave some really great ideas. And so we've got those here to share as examples to really help get your thinking going and spur ideas for our small group discussions. So some of the proposed benefits that you all have put forward under this category are to provide online access to 3D models of the program to aid in visual understanding of the design. Develop affordable housing near transit areas. Disperse housing development across both sides of the river, avoiding concentration in a single low-income housing facility. And to explore opportunities for the development of community centers. More included develop housing affordability clauses, particularly in home ownership opportunities to address gentrification and displacement. Explore repurposing existing retail areas for community development. Develop comprehensive strategies and funding options with the program and other partners that can be implemented to address the relocation and housing needs of people experiencing unsheltered homelessness affected by the program. Organize Organizations such as Join, Self-Enhancement Inc., Homeless Assistance and Resources Team, or HEART, Council for the Homeless, and Columbia River Mental Health were recommended for involvement. And so as you can see in these examples, a lot of it included ideas related to housing, to assisting those who may be unsheltered and impacted in the program area, as well as things like community centers. So we've thought in other categories about creating new green spaces, new parks, things like that. And you can think of this as complementing that, right? So what are some other community assets or community, community centers, senior centers, things like that, that could potentially be explored through this process. And those are actually examples of pretty typical community benefits that have been included in other major projects through community benefits agreements or similar processes to what we're undertaking here. And so now we will move into our breakout sessions. And I just want to remind for some framing here that we are in the phase of brainstorming. And so in the next phase, when we come back to this category, that's when we'll do the review, refine, we'll dig into details. We'll have some assessments from the IBR program teams to help us kind of figure out what are some details or extra questions, maybe analysis that needs to be done. But for now, we really want to focus on visioning and really brainstorming open ideas around anything that you think would be worth exploring under this category for community benefits. And so with that, I will turn it over to Shannon, who will help us get broken out into our groups.
Thanks, Emily. We're going to stay in one group here in person, and Bree will facilitate us with Fabian. I'm going to ask you to do our note taking, and I will move all folks in the virtual space into some breakout rooms. You have facilitators and note takers, so please don't worry about those pieces. Just a reminder, we'll want somebody to report out to the large group. And I'll go ahead and move everybody. Do you want to mute the room?
IBR team would say that.
All right, folks, are we good to go in in-person room?
We are good to go.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you, everybody. So now we're going to move into our large group session. So we have 3 virtual groups and 1 in-person group. So why don't we go ahead and start with our in-person group? And so just as a reminder for folks, we'll have each group report out kind of the highlights. And then after that, we're going to open it up to a larger discussion where folks can share different ideas and reactions to what they've heard. So Bree, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Emily. Do we have a volunteer here who's willing to do our report out? I think Eric, I could pick on you to do it.
Oh, I don't know that I was paying close enough attention. I'm sorry.
This is your
I was multitasking.
I was writing
There's
things
remarkable
down.
notes here.
Okay, no problem.
Harley's on.
Harley's willing to volunteer.
I was writing things down. I don't think it's best for DOT to report out on this, but we talked about strategic selection for how properties are bought and who they're bought by, so that could inform later outcomes. And so just being really strategic for staging and other parcel acquisition and whether or not there's alternate ways to approach that. Talked about stormwater treatment and hoping that it's attractive. Maybe hopefully it's not protective, but I don't know that they have to function. So protection is often important. Sorry, that's DOT spin on that one, but considering aesthetics. Highlighted, there's so much discussion about housing, talked about needing full spectrum of income related to housing considered, which is definitely, I think, in the housing sphere generally, but isn't articulated here, so we can articulate that. Considering partnerships with the city of Vancouver or historical entities, NPS, National Park Service for interpretive centers and what opportunities may exist there. Also, because housing was to focus here, recognizing that there is a gap in considering other location or access to essential services, food, medical, et cetera. And then since Corky Collier is here, he said, and industrial land and jobs and the benefit for equity that creates. We did talk a little bit about bridge aesthetics, even though that may live somewhere else. And then we had really a rich discussion about how does the rubber hit the road on this, which it does seem like is a discussion point that will come back to this group, but really both thinking about the asset mapping piece and hearing about that and how that ties in, and both thinking about that as a report back to this group, but also making sure it's hitting the ground with agencies who actually have the capacity to bring that work forward. And also talking about just reminding this group about the mechanisms that implement these things, so that it feels more tangible and time-based so that we don't lose opportunities.
Thank you, Carly. All right, Emily, we're ready for you.
Awesome, thank you. So we'll start with Monica's group. Do we have a volunteer from that group?
Yes, I will do my best to represent us, and the rest of my team can jump in if I misspeak. The first thing that we talked about was preserving green space along the alignment area. And we know that green space may need to be taken, but for the program then to consider where they might be able to add some green space. Second thing was that there is a dog park near MLK and Union Court in Portland. It would be great to get that cleaned up and made usable for local residents. I guess it's really not usable in the winter as it is currently. It's too wet and it's toxic for the dogs. So to do some cleanup there and actually make that a usable dog park for the community. Third thing, there is in one of the current recommendations, the very last one around developing comprehensive strategies and funding options with program partners, on and on and on. And it lists a small group of organizations recommended to be involved in that conversation. And we had talked about either to really dig in and expand on that list, because there are all kinds of other organizations that should be involved in that conversation. So either expand on it and make it super inclusive, or a better thing at this point to do might be to not list the organizations. And maybe as a side project, someone could start working to really generate a comprehensive list of all of the organizations that should be involved. Because right now, I think it just gives the appearance that many are probably left out of the conversation. And then the fourth thing is to look into a model. It's called Resident-Owned Communities, or ROC, R-O-C. It's a program that could be explored for the mobile home parks in the program area that basically helps them own their own land, own the land that those parks reside on. And then the last one, and this is a partnership between the Washington State Department of Commerce and the workforce boards in Washington happening right now. That the Commerce is investing in individual development accounts, or IDAs. And it's kind of a pilot for us. We haven't started yet. We probably won't start until October, but we're recommending that this might be something that the IDR program keep your eye on, because the individual development accounts, it basically offers, it's matching dollars that we can set aside with a financial institution for a person that they can then utilize those funds in the future for a major purchase, such as the purchase of a home. So we thought that might be a strategy that belongs with one of the existing recommendations that are already listed in the list. I think I got it.
Awesome. Seeing thumbs up from your group mates. So thank you, Darcy. All right, can we move over to Salome's group? Do we have a volunteer?
Yes, that's me. So we had a really robust conversation in our group, and some of the highlights to share. So affordable housing and different forms of housing was a topic we covered in many different areas, I guess. And so part of that is a request to have definitions of types of housing. So what is workforce housing? What is affordable housing? What is transitional housing? There's lots of different specifics to each of those, and some of them overlap and some of them don't. And so I think the request there was that as a group, we have some shared understanding of what those things mean, so we know what we're asking for, and having specific AMIs, area median incomes addressed within those. And so what does housing look like for people who currently don't have shelter and are living in that program area? And how do we address that immediate need during construction? What does housing look like for people who are working on the project and maybe have a lower income? And we want to provide housing for them in the short term for a couple of years, but then they transition out of that to more permanent long-term housing that maybe they own. There was discussion about land banking and zone swapping. So for instance, having residential that's close to the bridge being swapped for commercial or retail spaces and putting residential in other parts of the city. Peter brought up a concern about air quality issues in housing adjacent to the bridge as well. And so, you know, it's unhealthy for people to be living next to a highly polluting freeway system. And so that was part of that reason for the swap there. So making sure we're just addressing health issues related to transit. We talked about the experience of people using the bridge. And so thinking of it not only as a point A to point B, but focusing on what that journey is like. And so making sure that we're getting to enjoy the river and the natural beauty around us. And so it's not just about, you know, I'm in my car going from point A to point B, or I'm on this bike path and my head's down and I'm just trying to bear the experience, but really making the experience something that people enjoy, that's contextual, and gets them thinking about the mountains, the trees, the birds, the river, all of that. We also talked about the asset mapping and kind of needs analysis, specifically related to creating an art space or civic space that is linked within the program area. And shared uses. So if we're creating a transit center where there's going to be lots of cars, how can we partner that with another use that can share that parking amenity? So rather than creating lots and lots of parking, if we're going to need to make parking, how can we capitalize on that so it's used 24/7, 365 throughout the day, throughout the year, and maximizing that use. And then the last note I have here is about making sure that in this meeting, there's a share back about what's happening with other program partners. So I think individuals on this call or in this group are part of conversations, but maybe not collectively. Are we hearing all the different conversations that are going on? And there's lots of program partners at play. And so just getting an update on some of those would be great.
Great, thank you, Farley. And I think last but not least, we have Erica's group. So do we have a volunteer from this group?
Is it me?
Yes, that's you, Vicky.
Okay, we duplicated some of the great ones that were offered. And so I'll cover some of the others that haven't been mentioned. We talked about right-of-way agents who negotiate property acquisition for a project like IBR. And the example was I worked at ODOT when the Glenn Jackson Bridge was built. And there were only, I think, 2 people of color who were in right-of-way agent jobs. So it's looking at now who's doing that property negotiation, and should we be training more people to be able to do that work? Because I think that was a huge problem when major construction projects went into play in Oregon. Daycare was an issue. And so advocating for daycare, whether it's new partnerships, or an example is that the CHIPS Act, which is a huge mega funding project at the federal level, it incorporates daycare into the CHIPS Act. So Intel right now is preparing for how do we provide daycare in our new large chips manufacturing facilities. We talked about signage and the adequacy of signage so that people can enjoy those historic properties or recreational properties that we are trying to preserve through the IBR. And so signage is going to be critical. And whether that takes policy changes in order to make signage more uniform or available to projects that we want people to enjoy. And also another kind of policy issue is land use, whether the development of particular kinds of retail resources around the station. The example we talked about was Hayden Island, whether we will need land use variance or working within those limitations in order to make it more attractive for retail business to move in there and provide those services. So those are the highlights of, but we also really, the housing was one that we really wanted it to be equitable. And the last one is incarcerated youth. The Oregon Youth Authority, actually, they have, I was told, and we understand that they train youth in trades jobs at Oregon Youth Authority, whether at the camps or at the institutions, McLaren and Hillcrest. But the majority of the youth come from the metro area and will return to the metro area. So beginning to negotiate with them about what can they do to start to train construction workers, trades workers that meet the requirements for jobs. So that's ours. Anything else from our group, Ray, or?
I think you covered it pretty well. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you so much, folks, for sharing out from the groups. And now we just want to provide an opportunity, now that folks have kind of heard from others, the ideas that were shared, if there's anything else that comes up for you that you'd like to discuss here, or other ideas you'd like to put forward. And Bree, I'll ask you to help me with tracking for in-person folks who may want to speak.
There was a comment that I missed we also were concerned about incarcerated adults that don't have job or have a criminal history that prevents them from getting jobs. So that was another target population that would be worth working on.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicki. Any other thoughts that folks want to share?
I don't think we have any comments from the in-person room, Emily, so I think we're good to move on unless you have anything from the virtual room.
Awesome. Well, of course, if there's anything that comes up for you, we are always available to hear that from folks. And so we will go ahead and move to our closing slides here. All right, so what is next? So next month, our topic will be avoid further harm. And again, this will be the brainstorm phase, and it will be at the Portland building on June 27th. July 25th will be the meeting following that at the IBR office in Vancouver. And we will have our last brainstorming session around physical design category. And then after that, we will be moving into our review refine stage, where we will dig into the details and really get these benefits to more of a final place where we'd like to see them. We'll be working on the back end with our teams to do some analysis and bring some questions back to this group. And so then in August 22nd will be our first crack at that. And that will be in the category of mobility and accessibility at the Portland building. And then following that will be this category again, community benefits, where that will happen at the IBR office on September 26th. Some upcoming program meetings are the Community Advisory Group, which is on June 13th from 4 to 6. The Equity Advisory Group on June 17th, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. The Bi-State Tolling Subcommittee Transportation Commissions on June 21st from 1 to 3 p.m. And then our next meeting on June 27th, as I mentioned. And with that, I will turn it over to Shannon for a recap item, and then we'll turn it over to Ray for our closing thoughts.
Thanks, Emily. I just wanted to make sure that the small groups who weren't here in person with us, there was a lot of conversation about our process, some of what we're doing in the background. So I just wanted to uplift that and say next month, we will plan to have some slides put together to show this advisory group, what staff are doing, what some of the work has been with asset mapping with partner agencies, and how all of these pieces are planned to come together. So I just want to appreciate that being raised, but wanted to read everybody into that.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. I heard that come up in the virtual groups as well. So I think that'll be really helpful. And with that, Ray, I'll turn it over to you for some closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Emily. Thanks, Shannon. I think that'll be helpful to share what the group's doing behind the scenes to support this team. At least for me, what I saw on my breakout session group I was in was, these are broad areas, and I think the sectors that we've got laid out coming up are they're focused, but they're also broad. So, and it's easy to kind of go beyond those borders. But I think having an idea of what's coming up, like we've been sharing, and the thing I'd ask the group to do is think about them between now and then. I didn't do that; I should have, and so I've been more prepared with ideas. We want to make sure we get those good ideas in, and there are no bad ideas, even if you think it is outside the margins of the topic we're thinking about. This give us plenty of time to think and discuss. So I definitely appreciate that. And I know it's going to be a broad list, but I think it's like picking up rocks to make sure that we have left no stone unturned as we work through this as part of the effort. So it can be a little uncertain or uncomfortable, but I think that's where the juice is. So I thank everybody for the work today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ray. And thank you everybody for your participation today. It was great to see all of you and have these great discussions and carry them forward. So we look forward to seeing you next month and have a great rest of your day and week.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.